I'm Edie Lush, and I'm here at Hub Culture. It's Davos 2020, and it would not be Davos without an interview with Lucian. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Number 11.
I know, it's number 11. This is crazy. It's like a catalog of Lucian through the years. Lucian is, of course, the founding curator of Savanna, Foundation and House.
Yeah.
So tell me, first of all, what's going on there? What are you doing?
So it's been a big year. We took on the very iconic house in San Francisco that was built by the creator of the Golden Gate Bridge. And what we're doing there is we're prototyping what we kind of playfully call a planetary embassy. So it's all about bringing together what I love to call the transition team. People that are really motivated and ready to show up around this systems change we're in, this kind of civilizational crescendo. And we bring together between 100 and 300 people each week. So far, we started in September, and we've brought over 3,000 people from over 1,000 organizations together.
To do what?
So ranges. A lot of it is starts with our own internal work. By doing our personal transformation, I think we're best prepared for our collective thriving. And so we do salons, we do immersions, we do dinners. We have a 60-person dining room table.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
It's really cool. It's
nice. Parties?
We do parties, pretty cool parties, particularly in 2030.
Okay, right,
Yeah.
so all eyes towards 2030.
Yeah.
And I think you've got something to show me, because I've actually been hearing along the promenade this idea of the memes of Davos, and the idea is that there are phrases that we should all be putting into conversation to leak out into the general consciousness in order to create the next decade as the one we want it to be, right? So I've heard the golden decade.
Golden decade, that's it.
Okay.
So words are powerful. You know, words can either be swords or they can be spells. And language, I think, shapes our culture, it shapes our identity, it shapes who we are. And so what we thought this year was to try and experiment, to ask the 3,500 people that are on all the social channels here in Davos to start spreading these positive ideas about the future. 10 golden memes. And we did a salon last week at Savanna House to ask 20 people to come up with some good ideas. And I've probably had over 1,000 conversations in the last 3 months just about systems change and how do we make sure we deliver on the next 10 years, on the promise of the next 10 years.
On the Sustainable Development Goals. By the way, nice pin.
Thank you.
We have the only 2 sparkly pins so far that I've seen in Davos.
We're in the inner circle. So these memes, the research shows if a person has an idea 3 times or more, it sticks. So the thinking was, if we can ask as many people as possible to start using words like, this is the golden decade, green is the new gold, remember the future, all in for all life. We've got other ones like back to soil and soul. We've got ideas like include and transcend, which are really powerful ideas. And so we came up with 10, and they're spreading. People, different ones resonate with different people. It's like don't predict the future, achieve it. So these powerful ideas that are ideas worth spreading. They're memes worth spreading. And I think when we think about the amount of fake news and negative, really dark news, things like Black Mirror, etc., that are in our popular culture, most people have a really negative view of the future. To quote the Edelman Trust Barometer last year, that is a global survey, and it showed that 4 out of 5 people believe the current system's broken and not working for them, particularly. And even scarier is 2 out of 3 people think the future is going to be even worse. And so the future will be what we think it will be.
Right.
And so it's really important in a crisis of hope and a war on trust to change the narrative and provide a kind of more optimistic narrative, because I believe we can do it. I think the only thing stopping us is our own imagination and our own belief in our collective selves.
I mean, the fact is that we are actually living, there's never been a better time to be alive. There's more access to electricity, more women have the right to vote than ever before. Fewer women are dying in childbirth. There's a lot of great news. There's a lot of good news out there. The one thing that isn't so great, of course, is the climate crisis or the climate emergency. Whatever you want to call it, that's the one Sustainable Development Goal that we're not delivering on as a planet.
Yeah, and right now we're on track to hit the SDGs in 2094.
Right.
And that's like a giant fail for humanity. But I do believe that this decade will be the golden decade. It will be the decade that we don't tweak the existing system, we wholesale design a new system. And there's a lot of things coming together for that. And I actually don't think necessarily it's the people at the top of the current system that are designing the next system. You know, often, you know, Buckminster Fuller said, you know, if you want to change things, don't fight the existing reality, create a new model that makes the existing model obsolete.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of people around the world that are part of that team. I love to say the band is getting back together.
Right.
You know, it's like it's a very potent moment in history. In fact, this decade, I would argue, is the most important decade in all of human history. Like, because what gets decided this decade, what our choices are this decade, will determine the lives of our ancestors for many generations to come. And so it's a kind of real civilizational crescendo. And so what we're doing is we looked at history and we were like, whenever there were these times of change, people would organize into trusted groups where they had to make oaths on their honor for their life. You know, that you had the Knights Templar, you had the Masons, and albeit these were power structures at the time, but these were groups that met regularly in person. And so what we're doing with Savanna House and then supporting digitally is gathering together people locally in the Bay Area to test this, to say what would it look like to bring people into a civic oath, into a deep trusted bond, like a brotherhood, sisterhood with each other. And from there, can we establish the trust and the collective intelligence that would allow us to become our best selves, reach our collective potential. And we think this like idea of a planetary embassy, it's kind of obvious that we should have the equivalent of like Masonic lodges in every major city in the world that brings the smartest, the most committed people, those noble of heart, together around the oldest technology there is, the dining room table, to say, how do we deliver on the promise of this golden decade?
All right, so are you looking for partners in other cities? What are you looking for?
Right now, so I would say 2020 is the year of hindsight. So we're doing lots of experiments. We kind of think of this space as an immersive experience game. So Ram Dass talked about this. When you step over the threshold into the space, it's a 7,000 square foot space. When you step over that threshold, there's new game rules. And what we're doing is we're experimenting with those game rules and trying to establish the culture. And once we've got that established, we really think we can roll these out as a membership alliance, as like a global alliance of people deeply committed to social change around the world. In cities around the world, I think we can partner with city mayors, we can partner with all sorts of companies that want to be part of the solution, not the problem, you know, because it's like transformative innovation is what we've got to be doing.
Right.
And it doesn't exist in one silo. You know, we can't think about the future of healthcare only from the vantage point of healthcare. We actually do need these cross-sector, multi-stakeholder, diverse communities, because it's then that we apply our collective intelligence.
So join the Rebel Alliance at Savanna Foundation, use the memes, and I look forward to seeing you again all throughout this golden decade, Lucian. Thanks very much.